How's everybody doing today? Alfred Flores, CEO, President of New Age Electric. I wanted to do a video on understanding the final price tab in Accubid. Let's jump right into it. So at first, you're going to look at this if you've never seen this program before. This is a lot to take in. When I first got into this, it's almost like hieroglyphics at first. You know some things, but then you don't know where this other stuff is coming from. It takes time to absorb and understand all this information, but it's actually pretty simple if somebody explained it in layman's terms and showed you how it's broken down into each section. So let's start from the very top. You have a material section that actually means the material starts up from right at this point up to here. You would think this be vice versa, but it actually is not. Alright, so this is all your material for the job. It's telling you here is your calculated dollar amount. And I'll explain this side after I'm done explaining what everything means. So your database material extension means everything that's located in your extension tab right here. Material escalation, this is the ability for you to put in a calculated amount of material escalation. If the job were to run for 5 years straight, you can put in a percentage. You could, figure maybe a 5% increase over time. It's totally up to you. That's pretty much job dependent. You're gonna have your quoted material extension, meaning if you took off your fixtures correctly, or if you entered in anything in the line item pricing that was fall under quoted material within the extension tab, that dollar value will be right here. And just a quick show you really quick, that would be all of this right here. And if you don't know, when you highlight stuff in Accubid dollar wise, the value will show up right here. Sum 25,313. If I go back to final price, there's some other stuff in there, but you get the gist of that. There's something in there that's another grand attached to the quoted material. And then you have quoted material, means in this tab you have quoted material. So that's 36,657. 36,657. And then the final one before you leave out of here is taxable job, non-taxable job. And that would be now your total. So this is all of this for the material total. Next would be labor. You have your total direct labor on the job. That's everything you've put in here in your extension. If you added incidental labor, you added any kind of labor factoring, labor escalation, indirect labor, this is all built in to over here. So it's telling me I got 408,000 in labor for direct labor, incidental labor, so that means there is something in here, so it's showing me there is money in here. That also could be in labor. Here we go, another $5,000 here in incidental labor. Labor escalation, that is your tab down here, labor escalation, nothing in there. Indirect labor, and the labor, there's more in here, $280 worth. And labor tax, that's a iffy one. If maybe you're breaking this down where your hourly rate is got some kind of tax. I'm not really sure. I never used this one. And that will give you your total labor on the job, $413,000. Now for your total cost, this is gonna be everything up here, plus your subs, your general expenses, and your equipment. And these are these three tabs right here. And that'll give you your raw cost for the job. Now there is a section down here I've never seen anybody use in my time as doing project management and estimating, is this right here. And what this is, and I can understand why this is in here, because it just depends on the owner itself. There's owners that bury their overhead cost in their hourly rate, so the burden of having staff, you might want to throw some of that in there, maybe not. You can bury it in hourly rate, totally up to you. This is where you can put some of that in here, and then when you get down to your total markup, that would be a lot less if you were doing a loaded rate with your fringes and then your staff members, that you supporting staff that you kind of want to have your electricians cover their salaries for the year. This is all that's owner decision. So basically you're gonna see 0 here, and this is for all of these line items above. Now your next thing is your total markup, and this is all of these items here. So you have your database material markup, your quoted material, your labor markup, your subs markup, and your general expenses and equipment, and any kind of adjustment you want to make manually. Here's the thing with this: if over time you're gonna understand that you just can't go in at an 8% or a 5% or whatever the case may be. If you think strategically on how you can beat your other contractors, your competitors, couldn't come up with the word. You can strategically lower percentage on markup on high ticket items. So, and we can use this for example. We have $5,000 markup on database material, and that could, in this case, this is fixtures and pipe wire, boxes, and devices. My quota material is $6,900 worth of markup, and that is my distribution, lighting controls. I got some handholds, and I got some attic stock. And I have $41,000, and we'll just say 42 on labor markup. So this is the bulk of your markup right here. Now, as an estimator, this is, you want to make sure at a minimum that you want to get this right here. That's for certain. You need to have cash flow, and you need to have that kind of markup going in. But what you can do is, you might have a $300,000 lighting package, and if that's marked up 10%, that's $30,000 worth of markup that you could get a better price if you get that job. So let's just say I wanted to get a little bit more competitive, and I know I can get this better when I win the job. And let's say I make up 3 points on my buy, and I can say, okay, I go on 7 because I know I can make 3 points on with my supply house and my for the fixtures as well. And then I got some gear. Let's say I can make up 2 points on that, so I'll bring this down to 8. And my labor markup, I kind of don't want to touch that. I want to make sure at a minimum I'm getting that to make this job well worth taking. So I'll keep that as is. Subcontractor markup, you're going to notice that this is, you can't touch this. The only reason why, and it's the program itself, is you can actually control the markup in Subcontractor's markup. You have to go to subs. And then you're going to see that here is your markup for all of these. Now, you don't necessarily have to come in here and change this. I'm going to show you how to use the variance and the final price. Once this is done, you have your total markup on a job, and what it does, it takes the averages of all of these and puts it as this. So it's telling you on an average you're averaging a 7.935% markup. You're anticipated to make $63,813. Keep in mind, you think you're going to make a little bit more on these buys, so that might jump back up to, we'll put this back up to 10, and instead of making 63, now we anticipate making 60, almost 67. So I'm going to leave this back to 7 and, what was it, 8 and 7. It doesn't matter. So you have your total markup, how much you're going to make in profit. They give you some extra tabs down here so you can manually type in anything you need and add a percentage to it. You can do these for these, and then after this is said and done, there's going to be a final adjustment and then your selling price. So I'm saying that in this job, my bid is going to be $867,864, and however you want to use cents, that's a user preference. I like to round up to the nearest dollar. Okay, so this is all for this side. Now you're gonna see there's a variance. This side here, this side is utilized if at default, and I'm gonna leave this back at default, we're gonna say typically as a company we do not bid anything under 10% for our labor, quota material, and database markup. This is what you call a modified section, where you could kind of play with this to kind of see how would you be taking this job if I were to say I wanted to go after this at 5%, this at 5%, and we wanted to lower labor a little bit lower to 7%. So there's a various percentage it's saying. So it's a 27.76 variance between this profit and that profit. So instead of making the average of what we usually go in is 66,794, we would make a 48,254. So this is a comparison. So if you were reviewing this with the owner or your chief estimator, you could come here and play with this and, you know, strategically go after a job. And, you know, we usually call it like the war room. We go in the room and we go over the job and we kind of nitpick this and we try to see what we can do. There's a lot of different things you can do in here, and do not do this unless your owner is okay with doing this, because this is, you're really botching what you took off versus what this says right here. I'm going to explain what you mean by botching. So instead of saying I can make up the 5% and the 3% on buys, we're going to change this all to 10, right? If you notice that you can't touch, oops, I'm sorry. You can't touch these. You can double click them and it jumps to where the values are, but you can't change that. But if you see these, you can actually change the values of these. You can change the values of anything that has a white background. All the way down. You can even override the selling price. And just to show you really quick, just say we could take it at 800,000. It's showing you the difference of a negative 71,000 that you did. That's not agreeing with the other cells up here. It's basically ignoring everything above because you changed the selling price. I jumped a little ahead. Let's go on the top. Now, like I said, I don't recommend doing this because you are taking a long shot, and I'm just showing you this to give examples of what you can do with this program. So here's an example. My database material extension is all my pipe wiring boxes, devices, and my fixtures in there. You might have controls in there if you got line item control pricing. So let's say I know I can get you talk to your supply house. Say, hey, I got $46,000 in lighting controls and whatnot. So, can I get this 2% less right now, and you guys would be okay with that? And they say, yeah. Okay. So, let's say we could get this flat for $44,000. Material escalation we'll leave alone, but then we have some gear and lighting control quotes that we have in here. We have $36,000. So now what we can do is go in the final price, and we're like, yeah, we can probably get this for $24,000. Our other quoted material extension, I'm sorry, that was for quoted material in extension. This is quoted material, this quoted material. So we'll leave, we'll just say we'll up it, we'll say 25,000. And this 36, maybe our supply house said, yeah, we can probably do a couple points, and okay, we'll put 33. And tax, you don't want to play with taxes. You gotta do that regardless. So what it did was, and you gotta understand this, it did change this to calculate the taxes. So if you are planning to do something like this, just put the value right back in there again, just in case something does not go right. At least you got your taxes covered, because that's something that you don't want to mess with and eat all these taxes. Same thing with labor. There's a lot of things you could say. Maybe I could throw an apprentice on the job. There's a lot of ways you can mess with this, and like I said, this is all just for demonstrating purposes only. And let's just say, yeah, I could save 10% on labor for using an apprentice. So maybe we'll just make this an even 400,000. Okay, so that just shaved off 2, so was it 395 maybe? Okay, 3. Some contractors, you might have a buy on this too. $260,000. That's a lot of subcontractor costs. So you might say I could get like 5% on that. So say we could get 255. And actually it was, I think, 250. Yeah, almost 250 in a dot. So there's your 5% off there. Now, as you're noticing, all these variances keep coming in. The percentages just telling you that you're doing -4% here, -4% there, -4, almost 10, almost 6, so forth, so forth. So it keeps coming down and down and down. And it's time now. Here is your new price. Like I was saying before, just be careful when you do this, because these numbers. So when you get to this, you have to understand that you're still trying to add something that's not here no more. So because you took your database and quoted material and labor and whatnot, you're actually not going to be making, you are going to be making this anticipated, but it's only going to work if you're getting, in this scenario, the buys. And this is, you're taking a huge risk, because 871 all the way to 835, that's a lot of money. I mean, pretty much all your profit is almost gone if you're doing it this way up here. So all I'm trying to explain to you is that you are messing with your quoted material, database, and whatnot. I just highly suggest that you just do it down here and just say, shave off 1 point here, 1 point there. What's the difference? Now, this isn't permanent. You can right click and reload, and it will reset everything. It actually resets both sides. And if you want, like I said in the beginning, highly suggest just do it from here. Save you can save your $13,000 in markup. I would, maybe you could even get competitive and just say, this is, I don't want to mark up my subs at all, and I'll figure I'm going to get $13,000 buy on them. So a lot of different ways you can do this. There was one thing that was going through here, and I wanted to show everybody, and I cannot find it now. Maybe in the next video, if I can't think of it in the next few seconds. So I can't think of it right now. So, like I said, the final price, just to close this discussion, you can override the price here. And let's say you found out that the low number was 852. And you just we're going to put this all back in. And we're going to say the low price is 852,000 clean. So that means that somebody took this for $19,000 lower than you. So if you can zero this out, it'll go back. I believe if you do the 2%, yeah. So that's kind of tough there. So yeah, there's many ways you could play with this, and it's a great layout, but you do need to understand how this all works. And I hope this really gave somebody or anyone an understanding on how to utilize the final price tab to your advantage. And this is like the pro tip of the day. Just because this says 5% in the end doesn't really mean you don't know what you're doing, or you're going in too low. If you strategize on how you're going to attack a job, because there's so much markup on different things, even though I'm going to put, for example, 5, and we'll leave that alone. We'll say 9. That's a 7%. A lot of people don't like going under 8. There's a lot of people don't even like going under 12. But you're strategizing by this, and those that point value does mean something. It means that you are going to try. You got a purchasing manager that's going to go after buys aggressively for you. Your project manager is going to talk to the subs. He's going to get good buys for you. It's a joint venture when this comes all together. Everybody does their part. You might gain up to 5 or 6 points before you even set foot on the job. So keep that in mind when you explain that to somebody, or you're in front of the owner. You tell them this is the strategy. We can do it. We've done it in the past. It's possible. Once again, Alfred Flores, CEO, President, New Age Electric. You guys got any kind of comments, questions? Feel free to ask anything. I hope the final price video was a lot longer, but it requires explanation, strategy, and just I'm not a 20-year vet. I'm not a 30-year vet, but I have been doing this for a little over 10, 11 years now, and I've been using Accubid for a while, and what is gonna, and this is gonna be the closing quote for today. So when you're an estimator, there's people who just estimate a job, say I'm done, and move on to the next. Then there's guys who take off a job strategically, and that goes to them laying it out, understanding their site conditions, and then figuring out how they can win this job by taking out little things because they know that the market is going in really tight. You might see your other electricals are like 4%, and you can't figure out because you can't get your number that way. But if you actually sit here and do it, you can actually figure out how your competitors are, and then how you figure it out later, you already lost a job. The GC told you were like 3 out of 6, so you had a decent number. And if you're got this good relationship with them, you can't ask, hey, how far was I? Was I like 5%, 2? If he tells you, you can always go back to your estimate and be like, all right, well, this is what they must have did. They must have took out subcontractor markup and then just only did 1 or 2% on your database and quoted material, and then you look at your final price and bam, you're right there. So now you know how your competitors are bidding, because you just basically broke down your bid to make their number. Now, there is a chance that the GC could be lying to you, but if you got a good relationship, I doubt he probably is, but keep in mind, not everybody's perfect. There's people who they're in it for themselves. Us electrical contractors, we try to win bids to make money. We all got a job and job security. We keep going and we keep doing this for the next 25, 30 years. So keep that in mind. And once again, I appreciate everybody for listening and watching. And another video that comes soon.